We are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is the early edition of Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Reverend Evelyn, and I am the author of Sacred Creative Soul Speaks. And I have my beautiful guest today is Marjorie Phoenix, and we are going to be talking about the basic topic will be feminine leadership, but will have lots of different conversations. Yep. So welcome everyone. Come on into the room. And so welcome, and I'm glad to have you, Marjorie.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much again
Yeah.
for asking me on. It's
Yeah.
always an honor to be invited on someone's live and invited into their space. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Mm.
So I'm going to get us started with a little bit of breath work and little grounding.
Mhm.
And so we do this breath work because breath is a vehicle for spirit, and this is the middle of the day. For me, it's noon. In Eastern, it's 2 p.m. And so we've already been ripping and running. Some of us,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have been. And
Mhm.
so intentional focused breathing really helps to move us from getting here to being here and sort of grounded in this space. So we're just going to do a little bit of breath, and then I will give us a quick invocation. So I just do an inhale, and I hold, and then I let it out slowly. That longer exhale helps to just calm the nervous system. Inhale, and then long, slow exhale. Mm. All right. And welcome to everyone who is joining, who's clicking in to this live. Welcome, welcome. Hmm. And so what I know is that there is only one power, one presence, one love, one law, one spirit, one mind. And what I know is that I live and move and breathe in that one power, which exists within me, which exists in each one of us, and it is expressing itself in an individualized way as each one of us. And so I invite the presence of this beautiful spirit to enter here where you already abide, to hover over this little gathering on Substack Live, to bless each one of us, to bless this conversation. And so it is with joy and gratitude that I release this word into the law. I allow it to be so, and so it is. Okay, Marjorie,
Yeah.
welcome. Um, so on your profile, first of all, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before we came on live. I encountered you in a conversation with Margaret Williams. And
Mhm.
then it seems like after that, the Googles just kept bringing you to me. I found your YouTube channel was suggested. It was dropped into my feed. And so I watched one of your videos. And, but I'm looking at your Substack profile, and it says, talks about wild, dangerous feminine leaders. And I was like, ooh, that sounds so juicy. And when I combine that with the image of the phoenix, I'm like,
Mm.
what is that about?
Right. Listen, it has been a long journey for me to step into what I'm calling my wild woman era. This is where I am in this year, 2026. To step into that, but also to say to the world that this is who I am, and to say to other women, this is who you are too, right? And so all of this comes from going through the fire, right? Going through some things in my life where I really just had to burn away parts of me that really weren't even me. These were things that was carrying with me with my identity. And so after I had gone through a divorce, which was very traumatic, I took on the last name Phoenix, right?
Mm.
Haven't made it official yet, but that became my pen name
Mhm.
because I wrote a book. And so I just saw like my entire story rising from the ashes. And there's so much that came along with that, right? Over the years, as I got to know myself better, as I came into my womanhood, right? I realized that there was so much more to me, right? I was this Renaissance woman. I was this dangerous woman. I was this wild one. Was all of these things. I'm just starting to think of. I'm every woman now. I started to think about all of that, and as I'm working with other women who were also going through a similar journey as I was, I started to learn a lot of the identities that we as women we take on in life,
Yep.
and they're given to us or they're taught to us over time that we don't really know who we are. And that's why I titled my memoir, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? I actually answered that question in
Mm.
my memoir. And I feel like we're at a time right now in history where women are starting to understand and know who they are. They're questioning things, right? They're questioning themselves and they're releasing actually a lot of the roles and the identities and the names that have been given to them over the years. And we can see that by the fact that, less women are getting married now, right?
Mhm.
More women are becoming more educated. More women are starting more businesses. So we're really finding ourselves into what I am also calling this year the Great Remembering. I feel like there is a remembering going on. So when you see me write about the wild woman, the dangerous woman, the Renaissance women, these are all archetypes.
Yep.
These are all archetypes. And I fell in love with archetypes because I'm a student of psychology and sociology. And as I started to learn more about archetypes, I said, these are a mirror in a way for women. We can identify ourselves in a lot of these types of archetypes. And
Mhm.
so there are archetypes, psychological archetypes that we know of. There are archetypes, I call them historical archetypes as
Mhm.
well, women who have gone on. And there are living archetypes as well, right? And then there were some that I decided to create just based on what I was learning and seeing from the women that I was working with. So that's where all of this is coming from. And I feel like these archetypes not only are a mirror, but they're also a map. And they're going to help us move into ourselves a lot more fully.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, the hearing that wild, dangerous feminine reminded me, in my late 40s, I attended a retreat. It was a WOMB, womb healing retreat,
Yeah.
and it was all about the divine feminine and sort of, bringing it, that turning 50 is such a fertile time. It's such a rich time. Um, but I at the time was so like encased, right? I was encased in like proper, this is who we're supposed to be. And oh my goodness. And there was an activity that we were going to do. We were in a conference center, and the group, there was about 15 of us, were going to walk down the street to a park. But they were dancing and singing. We weren't just walking down the street dancing. Somebody had some kind of a, those Bose portable speakers.
Oh,
So somebody
yes.
had,
Yeah.
and they were playing, what's that song from the great, um, um, I can't think of the name of the song, but they were singing the song and skipping and running down. And I just remember saying, somebody was like, well, aren't you, I was walking behind them. I wasn't doing the skipping and the dancing. And somebody's like, came and like hooked her arm in my arm. She's like, join it. And I said, no, I don't think I don't have a wild woman. She looked at me, she says, everyone does. You have, you know. And I just remember this was in Crystal City, which is literally across the street from the Pentagon, right? In the DC area. Yeah.
Oh,
So I was like, you ladies are just like dancing in like wild women in public. Like,
and in DC, out of all
yeah,
places, like
yeah. So it was like, it was exploding my mind. But I slowly broke that shell and got into it. There was a big waterfall at this park, and we did some not tai chi. Yeah, tai chi. We
Tai
did tai chi
Chi.
at the
Yeah.
park, and then somebody did a little bit of energy healing, and it was just
Mm,
I just felt like I started that day. It was like a 3-day retreat, and I started that day of it kind of like in a little tight little bud. And
yeah.
by the end of that session, when we were heading back to the conference center, I was like, I felt like, not to be corny, unleashed.
Yes,
Do you
I
know?
was gonna
Yeah, I
you
felt
opened
absolutely.
up.
Like, so, yeah, that wild woman,
Ooh,
now I can identify with her.
great,
I do have a wild woman, and
great.
I acknowledged her and realized that the reason that I thought I didn't have one was because of, what you were saying earlier. It's the
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
Women model, we like, I'll say something will my mother has said comes out of my mouth. And I'm
Mhm,
just like,
mhm.
because we grow up modeling what's shown to us,
Yeah,
and what's shown to us is what was modeled to that person.
that's right.
And all of that ish sort of rolls downhill.
Yeah,
I might be saying stuff that my great-grandmother said.
that's right. That's
You know what
right.
I mean?
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's when I think about that, it's hard to believe that, you know, there were years ago where you had women who moved so freely and liberated, right? And this happened, right? And but yet when we look at our family line, because I'm thinking too about my mother, my grandmother, great great grandmother, right? But, particularly as Black women, though, we do have the history of slavery,
Mhm.
right? So that brought in some of that suppression and oppression in the line, and also some forms of, religion as
Absolutely.
well did that. So I definitely saw that, but, what I'm trying to do now is I'm really trying to tap into the ancient ancestral wisdom from times back before, because that's where that is. And typically it's so hard for us to get to that place that you're talking about, to tap into that wild woman within us, because of the history that we know in our family and how
Yeah,
that's been embedded sort of in our DNA. But there's a way that we can go deeper with that, and I think a lot of that has to do with our spiritual practice.
absolutely.
Yeah, our personal evolutionary practice that I talk a lot about. Like you have to start to dig a little bit deeper and go further. So this is why I love the idea of archetypes, and I love talking about history and a time of when, not so much, it doesn't have to be matriarchal, but when women felt free and they felt liberated. Because if you ask most people, they say, well, that was never the case. That was the
No,
case
it
in a
was.
lot of places around the world. We just weren't taught it. We just don't know it. And so now that we have access to this knowing, then we can sort of be able to tap into that. So it's you have to be intentional about getting there, because that ancient wisdom, and this is for me, when I felt this stirring up in me, that's how I knew, because it was stirring up in me.
Mhm.
This wasn't just a rebellion or a resistance, right?
Yep.
This it was always there. And I know there's a lot of women feeling that right now.
Yep.
But I also feel too like there is, energetically, it's being triggered because of the times that we're in a lot more. So this sort of awakening that people say that, oh, we're going through a great awakening. It is so much more than that. It is so much deeper than that. And I'm noticing women are surely and truly waking up in that way and remembering a lot more.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think about, um, you know, n I mean, I hesitate to bring politics, but I'm doing this from an energetic sort of perspective.
Of course. Mhm.
When, the current occupant of the White House had the State of the Union address last night, and, you know, um, this this individual and the people that this individual surrounds himself with are just seem to be really good at breaking things, dismantling things, and I feel like we who are awake, those of us who are in this sort of awakening time, need to really take a look at the opportunity to build something back better, right? So many things are being defunded and dismantled, sort of for grins and giggles, right? Like, I'm not sure what the end game is.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I sort of suspect what the end game is, but
Uh-huh.
it's not acceptable, right? I mean, so I just sort of feel like it's like all of these things happening at one time. It
Yeah.
can't be a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
to be an opening. It's an opening, and it's creating a space for each of us um to look at ourselves, because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're projecting this into the world.
Yeah. It is definitely divine timing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I think from 2020, 21, around COVID time,
Mhm.
like for me, that's when I started well, actually I take that back. 2016, right? The first time I
Mhm.
started to sense a little like rumble. It wasn't until like 2020 that I was like tapping in and was like, okay, this to me, it felt like this is a wake up call, y'all. Okay, this is a moment here. What are we gonna do with it? Right. And I feel like we squandered it a bit, you know? And so now we're here, and maybe things needed to play out the way
Mhm.
that they did. But what I will say for sure is that it's something new will be rebuilt.
Yes.
So I just came back from Salt Lake City. I don't know if you saw my post, my notes, but I was a part of a summit, and we talked about women and minority entrepreneurship, and we used a reflective piece that I wrote called 57 and Broke. And this was a reflective piece from a video that I saw on YouTube that a woman made sitting in her car.
Mhm.
And this woman had done all the right things. She had all of the education, same educational level as I did, had a master's degree, had all the experience, brilliant, but she was living in her car. And I saw myself in that woman. And I thought to myself, I am one paycheck away. I am one client away.
Mhm.
And it just got me to thinking. And so I wrote this piece about how the system, this was in 2024, how the system was not designed for us, right? It was not designed for us. And so the system will fail and it will falter. And so, what will we do? And so, I felt like the thing to do was now we have to create community around each
Mm.
other,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because we cannot allow for women to be sleeping in their cars, right? And capitalism in this country has become something like a Hunger Games. So I really started to reflect on this, and we took that piece and we sat down around a table with researchers and educators, and we did sort of like a research learning lab around it to see where did the system go wrong, right? And what is possible when we start to reimagine a new way of, for me, leading, living, and even loving,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And so for many of us, we have built our careers off of the education that we have gotten. We have been very, very, and as a Black woman, this is something that we've taught since we're little. Get your education, get yourself a good job, or, and that is the thing. And we did everything we were told to
Yep.
do, but yet everything that was promised was not given.
Exactly.
So now what do you do? And something that I saw happening since then, since I wrote that reflective piece, is we have almost 600,000 Black women laid off work, losing contracts from their businesses. All of these things are happening now. And the thing that we're doing is, okay, let's get together, let's work on our resumes, and let's network, and let's plug ourselves back into the system. Now, I get it. I get it. I understand why, right? We're surviving. But for me, I'm thinking, okay, and let's start to build a new system,
Thank you. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Plugging yourself back, attempting to
Right.
plug yourself back into a system, those outlets are gone. There's nowhere to plug. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It
Exactly.
wasn't designed for you.
It wasn't designed for you. And so now you have to think beyond that system. And I know that that is difficult because again, that reflective piece, not even a year later, I found myself lost my job, right? I had one client at the time trying to make ends meet, and looking at doing all the right things, but yet nothing was clicking. Now, during that time, I'm also doing my work. I'm listening. I'm,
Mhm.
I'm a person that has always done my spiritual and personal evolutionary work. And so there are things that are coming up for me that I'm seeing, like the lens that I was looking through at first. That's not the lens you need to be looking through anymore. And that is a tough one because I wrestled with that. When I started with leadership, was looking at it from a corporate lens.
Exactly.
And it shifted. If you look at my writings, it shifted over time and it went to feminine, archetypal, all of this type of stuff. And I started to feel like, will people understand me?
Oh,
Will I
absolutely.
be the laughing stock on LinkedIn? Like questioning myself, my self-worth, my brilliance, all of that. And and so I had to go through that tension moment of who it was society had told me I'm supposed to be, and the way the system had groomed me versus what was evolving in me now because I took the time to listen. And that's the thing when you take the time to pull back to listen to see, okay, what is really emerging here? It can be scary because then the first thing you want to say is, no, 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 not not that.
Yeah, I heard you say the system groomed me, and I'm just like, my mind is a little bit blown right now because it's absolutely true. Um, wow. It's
Okay,
absolutely. Are you back?
I'm back. You
Yeah, back.
froze. Did I freeze too?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a bandwidth thing, probably.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, go.
Anyway, I was saying that I heard you say that the system groomed me,
Mhm,
and I am. It's blowing my mind a little bit because it's absolutely what happens.
mhm, mm,
And
mhm.
wow,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
groomed, and then the rug is pulled out.
And then the rug is
So
pulled, and
so
it's
once,
pulled
yeah,
so many times, and yet still we're like, "Okay, oh, okay, then let me get back up and go back in again,"
no,
and we keep doing it, and till finally, and this was another thing that I had to realize because everyone is saying, "Go, go find yourself a new job. You've got all the degrees, you've got all the stuff." And then I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not looking for, well, how are you going to survive? I know what I know. I feel what I feel. And I know that has no value to you, but it has value to me.
yeah,
And and that is where we're at right now, Evelyn. That is
yeah,
where we have to be. We
yes,
have to be able to tap into that knowing to
Yes,
move us forward.
absolutely.
That
Yeah,
is what is needed. And that is that's the foundation of feminine leadership.
yeah. And this system that groomed us is actually unraveling. So it's not just unraveling for Black women. It's
Right.
just it's unraveling. Yeah.
Every,
So
everybody.
feminine leadership. It's there is someone there is an account on Substack, and I believe it's called "There Should Be a Black Woman in Charge." Have you seen that?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
that's the name of their Substack. There should
Okay,
be a black.
I love I have
And,
to look for that one.
yeah, and because it's like we're living through a cautionary tale, right? It's like this
Mhm.
is what happens.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so feminine leadership. So, like, what are what can you say about what's the benefit of? Because I mean, there's leadership, right? And then,
Course.
so what are the hallmarks that make
Yeah.
feminine leadership so effective?
Yeah. So we know the leadership we see now, we pretty much know we've all are familiar with what that looks like and what that feels like,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
This isn't just really the opposite of that so much as it is a balancing, right, of power. And that's how I see it. It's a balancing of power. And it's not just about softness, or performance. It's also about capacity. So you can tell the difference in how a leader carries themselves, right? And so in their capacity to be able to hold conflict and be able to resolve it without looking like they're either selling their soul or they're taking sides or anything like that. It's also the capacity to not self-abandon yourself. And this is what the masculine sort of leadership does,
Hmm.
is it forces you to sort of self-abandon because you have to show up for other onlookers, not for yourself. You know? So I really feel like feminine leadership is asking you to show up as your full, whole, balanced self, right? And then you're practicing um belonging, right? You understand that the people around you are part of what makes things move
Mm,
and flow, and you appreciate that. Um, you are a person that thinks about restoration more than conflict, right?
right.
So it's really bringing forth a balance of power in a way. And so this isn't just about this isn't just for women, right? This is men can practice this as well, and you're moving from this place of your inner knowing. Now, you can trust your people feel like they can't trust their inner knowing, but you learn to trust your inner knowing by doing the work, doing your own personal evolutionary work, being able to sit with yourself, being able to listen, right? Being in self inquiry. So when you can't
Yep. Yeah, that's
trust
your
your
hope.
inner knowing, it's because you haven't done that foundational work.
Yeah. Yeah, that inner knowing, that's my jam right there. That evolutionary
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
because um that balance is not gendered, right? That
That's
balance
right.
it's
That's right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
so
you're not trying to extract from people as much as you want to pour in to people. And that's
that's
what
the
really
feminine
makes
part.
a good leader, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Men can definitely embody those aspects
Yes.
because um
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because
It's
what
their
we've seen
roles.
yeah, and we've seen that the heavily masculine approach is has
Mhm.
been ineffective.
It
Right.
it has. It has. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I know if you say feminine leadership, the first thing, if a man hears that, they're thinking, oh, it's for women only. Oh, it's soft. Oh, it's weak. It's passive, that sort of thing. And so maybe there's another word that can be used for it,
Yeah.
but that is what I've sort of gravitated towards just because, I do work with women.
Yep.
So, that's just the verbiage that I use. But I also believe too that, we're moving into a space where leadership or leader may not be the term that we use anymore. We might use facilitator,
Mhm.
we
Yep.
might use guide.
Right.
That sort of language, because when you're talking about things being in balance, then you don't have that sort of hierarchy, structure that people have to follow. So,
Yes. Balanced guidance. Sounds
mhm.
sounds good.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because, there is just so you were talking about the, evolutionary,
Mhm.
what were you calling it?
Personal evolution.
Personal evolution, right?
Yeah.
And my whole thing is spiritual liberation.
Mm.
It is unhooking from following the dogma and doctrine outside of ourselves,
Yeah.
right? And being led from within, finding your inner guru, right? Your inner personal, and but see that takes courage and um it takes work. It takes effort, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so easy to walk into a building and sit down and have somebody pour into you and then go home feeling, "Oh, now I can face the week." But
Yes,
but what are they pouring into you? It's a very sort of
it is.
passive experience, and, um, there are people who come to the point where they can't they're not buying that story anymore,
Yeah.
right? And so, spiritual liberation is about finding the divinity within yourself and being
Yes.
led from that inner
Yes.
divinity.
Yes. Just discovering that for yourself. Because we live in a society where we are consumers more than anything else, that is a part of the problem, and it's by design, right? That's a part of the system as well. They want us to be consumers in that
Yep.
way, and they want us to be constantly looking at what someone else is telling us. On social media. This is one reason why I even have to sort of pull back on the amount of time that I spent, even though I love creating content for other people and I enjoy other people's content as well. But I also have to, be discerning about
Exactly.
who and what I'm listening to and how much of it, right? Because when you do that, you're not going to be able to hear yourself, right? You're not gonna be able to hear that inner knowing and to be able to discern, what's truth and what's not. What's your voice and what's your mama's voice or your grandmama's voice, that sort of thing. So we've become consumers in that way. And the system is betting on that because when we're plugged into it, they feed off of that and that fuels it in a lot of ways. So us being um, disconnected from ourselves
Mhm.
is a benefit to them
Exactly.
because we're connected to that. And so it's time for us to get disconnected from that and connected to ourselves. Now, you were saying how that's hard work. And it is because the first couple of times people do it, when people talk about meditating, and oh, it's so hard, it's so difficult, and not really realizing there are many ways to meditate, right? To get to that point. But it's hard because of the things that come up for them. So we don't even know how to be with ourselves as well. So this has been, I believe, the biggest part of the crisis of leadership because our leaders are not connected to themselves, right? They don't know that. And so you can see evidence of that in the breakdown and the falter, and not just when we look at our government, but we can see it in corporations and
Mhm.
companies. And some of you can even see it in your own organizations that you work for.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, this And it's actually not necessarily hard work. It's work that you have to be committed to, right? So it's not like put your shoulder into it, break a sweat. It's just
Right.
you just really have to um be committed to the process of um undoing what was
Yeah.
poured into you, what you allowed. Part of my deconstruction process from organized religion is to really it's training the body, it's training the nervous system, because your nervous system, at least for me, because I was indoctrinated from childhood, from birth, to follow this path. And you can intellectually divert from it and say, oh, okay, so I see that that's not going to work for me, I'm going to do something else. So that's a
Mhm.
head process.
Mhm. Mhm.
um
Mhm.
But now you have to, how do you tell your nervous system, "Oh, hell's not real, so let's forget about
Right.
it." You can't just say, "Okay, and there we go." No, because
Yeah.
your body's gonna be like, "Oh, yes, it is, and you're going there because look at what you're saying. Look at how you're talking. You are going straight to hell." Do you know what I'm saying? So, it's like it takes I was talking about this yesterday with, um between nervous system regulation and, like, inner child work, that sort of where that
Mhm.
sort of intersection comes. It's like
Mhm.
part of inner child work is balancing your nervous system so that those inner children feel safe, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
little 7-year-old inside of me is like, she's like, "Please don't say those words.
I
That's
know,
You're gonna
right?
get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble." And, it's like it's hilarious. It is
Yeah,
hilarious when I hear the what is it? The dissonance, the cognitive dissonance that goes on
yeah.
because of the things that I say versus the way I was trained, that
And
grooming, right?
yes.
I am I am actively daily dismantling the grooming, and the body has her feet dug in, and she's like,
Yes.
"No, no, no,
Yeah.
no."
Yes, yes. We've lived with that for like, all of our lives, and
Yeah.
as you were saying that, I remember, my sort of separation from Christianity as well, and even someone asking me, like a family member, right? "Well, you don't believe it, anymore?" And to be able to say, "No, I don't."
Mhm.
Right? Like, it took me a long time to even admit it to them, and I knew that was my truth. And sitting with that same thought that, well, you might not believe certain parts of the Bible, but you have to still believe that this is your sin because you're gonna go to hell and burn. It took little baby steps of me being really, grounded in who I am, right? And really saying, "This is me and this is my truth." Right? And that's when it was a turning point for me. And this is part of the evolutionary process, right? Because you have to be able to say that what I might have believed yesterday, I don't believe today. And
Yes.
this is why, right?
And it's
And
okay.
exactly. And it's okay. And it's enough for us to go through the motions or have an awareness and an understanding and knowledge about some things, right? And this is with, whether your background was in religion or whether it was part of your healing journey or what it is, but the next step in all of that is, now how am I showing up in my life? Who am I showing up as? Right? As this person who now doesn't believe what I believed yesterday. Now
Mhm.
I believe this. And how do I anchor in that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And that's why I love to connect it to the archetypes, because I would say, okay, what would a wild woman say? Right? If this is who she is, if she does, I don't believe that. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And I don't have to shame nobody for what they believe,
Exactly.
right? I
Exactly.
just have to stand 10 toes down in what I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's the shift for me when it comes to the personal evolution, is you have to be ready and to say, "Yeah, I did believe that. I did believe that, but I don't believe that anymore."
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. So do you have like a feminine leadership? Like, is it a training program? Is it like a coaching? Like, what do you do? What do you do with leaders, not just women leaders, but
Mhm.
just leaders who are conscious, awake, and aware and want to shift, the way
Right.
they've been operating? How are you approaching that?
So I was working with male leaders. I don't. I only work with female
Okay.
leaders now,
Okay.
and specifically those female leaders who are like maybe 45 and 50 and over. And
Okay.
the reason why is because we tend to be at a certain place in our lives. I'm
Yeah.
calling that threshold moment.
Yeah.
And so I help to move them through that, over that threshold.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't do coaching programs or anything like that. I do a
Mhm.
mentorship.
Oh,
Yeah, so I like to do mentorships and work alongside female leaders and moving into that new identity as they're moving, in their evolution. And so one of the ways that I work with them is first, I have something called the emergence map. It's a diagnostic assessment that helps you identify what is it that's keeping you stuck right now in your life that you can't move across that threshold, and then what is emerging out of you right now that you can't see or sense. And so once you go through that assessment, I sit down with you. We have a debrief session. I go through the report and the results with you. And
mhm.
then I give you a 90-day path, right? So even from that, if you choose not to move on with me, say, 6 months together, I will give you a 90-day path that you can use on your own. And then from that, if you decide, you know what, I would really love to have accountability, support, guidance, mentorship, then we come together and we work together for 6 months. And the reason why 6 months is because that is the amount of time that it really takes
Yes.
to break that cycle and to shift and get grounded in a new identity of who you want to be, to really be a person that understands that evolution is just a part of my human
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
and be open to that, right?
Yeah, and that support, I feel like that support is essential, right?
It is.
I was just reading someone, I think it was Mandisa Mosi, who she put a post up on, a note up on Substack about how people are so willing to, um hire a financial consultant. They're you, people will hire a party planner, right? I
Yes,
mean, you'll hire all these people to help because it's like I am here. I would like to be here. I'm going to
yes,
hire somebody who's going to help me get there, right?
yes,
But when
yes,
it comes to spirituality, I think
yeah,
that, in your case, leadership, spiritual leadership, whatever,
yeah,
that seems to be like a mix in there. People feel pretty comfortable just slogging it out on their own, but that support is so essential because, our tendency, as we were talking about with the nervous system, is to come back to what we know, right?
yeah,
Because there's comfort in the familiar.
that's
And
right.
when you're on a path like you're describing, right? You're breaking out in that, um hero with a thousand faces, that path. You're out of the known territory. You've broken
That's
out
right.
of the known territory, and now
That's
you're in unknown territory.
that's right. That's
So
right.
having a guide, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's priceless.
It is definite. Listen, I could not have gone through the journeys that I've been through on my I knew it, like, right away. Like, I always would invest in community or some sort of coaching, to take me through that. And every time I know that I am about to go through some sort of a threshold moment in my life, I know I can't do it alone. So that's become so important to our growth.
Mhm.
And you will see that if you try to do it alone, that isolation will actually keep you stuck
Yep,
in the long run.
yep.
So you wanna do it in community. And so for me, my biggest thing now is I want women to understand. I wanna go back to where you were talking about building something new outside of the system, because this is what we need. I want to women to be so grounded in themselves and their truth of who they are, right? That they can now build something new, reimagine, redesign, redefine, right? What leadership actually looks like, right? What creating communities actually can look like. What is it that we truly want to build? And so going through this work together, we can't do it unhealed. We can't do it
Yeah,
unevolved. Okay.
exactly.
We've got to go through all of that. And so for me, ultimately, even if you work with me for 6 months, then I'm creating a community of women who want to do that. These are the women who are ready to say, we're breaking the rules. We're going to build on our own terms, but we're not building just for us. We're building for everyone. We're
Yes.
building for community. We're building for the world. And this is how the leaders need to be thinking now.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say, I did not invent this saying, no one is healed alone, right? I think that's from A
Right?
Course in Miracles, right? So
That's right.
as each one of us heals, it creates healing. It ripples out, you know.
It
Uh,
does.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
important. I mean, you had someone on, and I think I watched her. It might have been last month where she was talking about Reiki, and
oh
I
yes.
thought
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
Reiki.
Hmm.
And she just opened my eyes even
Yeah.
more to
Yeah.
that. And that got me so interested because I thought, oh, it's only if you're going through something in your life and you need some
No.
healing, but it's so much more than that. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's on my list.
Yeah. Reiki is powerful, and yeah, I think not enough people know about it. I mean,
Or trust it.
or yeah, I mean, but I think that if you with knowledge comes, understanding and
And
trust.
it.
I think
Right.
people don't trust things that they don't understand, right?
Understand. Right.
Um,
That's right.
it's just such a beautiful thing, practice to have in your, in your
Yes.
pocket,
Yes.
Um, and when I have Reiki, so there's Reiki 1, 2, and then Reiki Master. So I have Reiki 2.
Okay.
Um, it's the timing you have to be called, the timing has to be right to do the Reiki Master. And when I felt called to do it, I was in seminary, and my teacher was like, "You have to finish your you have to get ordained first, and then go get the Reiki thing." But when I did my Reiki 2 attunement, I walked out of there a different person.
Mm,
I walked out of the because I was so grateful to have done it in person. With I say hands on. You don't actually touch the person, but I mean
right. Right.
in person. It with a group. There's about 8 of us, and it's subtle, but it's powerful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I recommend Reiki.
Yeah, yeah. I was recommending that to a client the other day as well, and I
Yeah,
said, I think doing this work, having some Reiki, doing some Reiki along with this,
mhm,
will make a difference.
yeah, yep,
So yeah,
it's
yeah.
powerful stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, cool. So, do you have a book? Have you published a book?
You know what? Yes, I published my book several years ago. It's a memoir titled "Who the Hell Do You Think You Are?"
Oh, you did. Okay, you talked about that.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes. So
okay,
that's on Amazon, and then
okay,
I'm working on a new book now, but that will not be done until later this year, maybe early next year.
okay.
So yeah, working on my next book. But yeah, that's
What
my
is that? What's the next book about?
that's going to be about the leaders we need now and in
Oh,
the
okay.
future. So it's sort of like what we're talking about now in the systems that this trying to disconnect from this system and what do we create outside of it.
Mm,
So I'm taking a lot of my learnings and my personal experience and bringing it into the book. So yeah.
love that. I love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So excited about that.
Cool. So listen, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to bring up here, or um does
You
anybody
know,
in the comment and anyone who's watching have questions? Just like as we sort of, wrap this up.
so the only thing I'm thinking about, and I really this is the thing that I so preach every time I write or say a
Mhm.
video is that I really want us to start to reimagine what it is that we do want to create because we will get distracted by a lot of the noise
Mhm.
that's around us at what is right now. And I want us to really think about what is possible and
Yeah.
sit with that and to start coming in spaces together as communities to talk about what have you been sensing? What have you been sensing? What have you been, and bringing that together. That is how we rebuild. That is how we're going to
Reimagining.
bring, yeah, we're going to build something new. So we've got to get connected with each other and start sharing with each other what are we sensing, but actually taking the time to sense,
I
what
love
coming
that, I
up.
love that, and
Yeah.
an image came to my mind as you were speaking. There is a genre of fiction called and I don't think it's just fiction, but a genre called uh, Afrofuturism.
Futurism. Yes. Yeah. Now you talking about like the Octavia Butler's books?
No,
Is
Octavia
that
Butler, I guess I would definitely include her, but there
okay?
are writers now like, Kindle did this little series of these short, audi not Kindle, Audible, that's the word.
Audible. Okay.
There
Okay.
was a little, um I think there's 5 titles, and they were all Afrofuture, and what it was futurism, but it was like, um I've always had this vision, like, when I would see, like, a Tyler Perry way back in the beginning, remember he started with plays?
Mhm.
And I used to be so annoyed, and I would be like, "Why can the media not ever depict Black people just
Mhm.
being people,
Mhm.
not being Black?"
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for me, Afrofuturism is depicting the ultimate Black people as just being people, not being
Yeah.
Black people. Do
Of
you get what
course.
I'm saying?
Of course.
So,
Of course.
when I hear you say reimagine. Oh, I hear your doggy. It's okay. It's fine. Um, if my dog was here, then she would start too. They would have a little, but it's not, it's that. So when I hear reimagine, I'm thinking because we are so groomed, to use your word, to move through this world in a particular way because of, I don't know, colonization, patriarchy, racism. Afrofuturism imagines a world where none of that exists.
No, yeah, I love that. That is exactly it. So we need to tap into
Yeah,
more of that, right? And
m-
and
to
and
broaden our
also
imagination.
yes, yes, have it exactly, and just sit with that and see what can be possible, and we can think of this in all different areas. We can think of this in the area of education.
Yeah,
We can think of this in the areas of, living spaces and how we work, right? That's the
yeah,
big thing for me, like, what can Black women bring now? All of these women that have been displaced out of work, what can we bring that's different, that's building something different for the future?
yeah,
So, yes, there's so much opportunity in this. And so I just want to encourage everyone to start doing that.
yeah.
I know I'm going to start creating space for that, but I want to encourage you all to do the same.
I love it. I love it. So reimagine the
Mhm.
future that you would create.
Yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I
Yeah,
love this.
reimagine, redefine too what it means for you for leadership, what it means for you to live a full, joy-filled life,
Yeah,
what it means for you to be in loving relationships.
yes. Oh, beautiful. Well, Marjorie Phoenix,
Mhm.
thank you so much for
You're
saying yes.
welcome.
Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom. And thank you to everyone who has hung in there with us on this live.
Yes,
And I
thank
hope you have
you.
a beautiful rest of your day.
Yes, I
And
appreciate you. Thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah. Talk to you soon.
All right,
Okay,
bye-bye.
bye bye.